We're going to talk about covalent compounds and how to name them. Covalent compounds are compounds made when two or more nonmetals bond by sharing valence electrons. So covalent compounds is when two nonmetals come together. So we're talking about the right side of the periodic table. The rules for naming covalent compounds are, number one, we name the first nonmetal by its element name. So if the first nonmetal is carbon, we just say carbon. We don't have to change the ending. If the first nonmetal is oxygen, we say oxygen. The second rule says that we name the second nonmetal by using the suffix IDE. So for the second nonmetal, we're going to have to drop the ending and add a new ending, IDE. So if the second nonmetal is sulfur, we say sulfide. If the second nonmetal is chlorine, we say chloride. And then the third rule says that we use a Greek prefix for each element except the prefix mono for the first element. So for these rules for covalent compounds, we do have to memorize the Greek prefixes. Okay, let's take a look at these examples. We want to write the name for the following compounds. BF3. We have to first determine if this is an ionic compound or a covalent compound. So let's look for B on the periodic table. And let's look for F on the periodic table. These are two nonmetals coming together to form a covalent compound. So we have to use the Greek prefixes for our names. Now, the subscript is going to tell us what Greek prefix we're going to use. So B, there's a subscript of 1, an invisible 1, but we don't use the prefix mono in the first element. So we're going to write boron, space. There are 3 fluorines. 3 correlates to tri. So it becomes trifluoride. So BF3 is boron trifluoride. Let's take a look at the second example. We have C and we have O. These are two nonmetals coming together, so this is covalent. And we're going to name our elements, or name our compound by the elements. C is carbon, space. And the second element is oxygen. And the subscript for oxygen is that invisible 1. So 1 refers to mono. So we're going to say carbon monoxide. So carbon monoxide. The next example is P2CL5. So we have P on the periodic table and we have Cl on the periodic table. So 2 nonmetals means covalent. Take a look at the subscripts. We have 2 P's, so that's diphosphorus, space, and 5 chlorines, pentachloride. Don't forget we have to change the suffix of the second nonmetal. The next example, we've got nitrogen in here, and we've got oxygen. 2 nonmetals coming together. So there's 2 nitrogens, dinitrogen, space, and there's only 1 oxygen. We have to say monoxide. So dinitrogen monoxide. So the Greek prefix mono is never used in the first element, but must be used in the second element if needed. Let's take a look at another example. We want to write the formulas for the following compounds. Carbon tetrachloride. Because I see Greek prefixes in here, I know that these are covalent compounds. So I'm just going to write down the formula and have the prefixes tell me the subscripts. Carbon, that's only one carbon. So carbon. Tetrachloride. Tetra means 4, so that means there are 4 chlorides. Trinitrogen octasulfide. Tri means 3, so there's 3 nitrogens. Sulfide means sulfur, and there's 8 of those. Octa means 8. Diboron tetraoxide. Di means 2, so 2 borons. Tetra means 4, so 4 oxygens. Some of you might have noticed that the 2 and the 4 can be reduced, but when we are talking about covalent compounds, we don't reduce the subscripts. The prefixes are going to tell us exactly what the subscripts are. So we should not reduce covalent compounds. Okay, let's look at the next one. Tetrasulfur monoxide. Tetra means 4, sulfur, so there's 4 sulfurs. Monoxide means 1 oxygen. Good luck and keep practicing.